y'all, I'm Ellen. We've been super inspired by our journeys of self-healing and discovery.
And I'm Sam, and we want to share our experiences with you to help you get curious about yourself, reconnect, and get intentional about your life so you know what makes you happy.
Welcome to Woo New, the podcast. It's really funny that we're doing this interview right now because while I was at this retreat, obviously we were observing noble silence. Like that's what it's called when you can't talk to anybody or like look at them or whatever. We were observing noble silence and we couldn't do anything except walk and meditate. And so I was having a whole slew of imaginary conversations in my head, like throughout the entire 10 days of the retreat. And one of them was talking to you during this interview. It was almost like I was imagining what the things I wanted to tell you were. And like I was having this full blown podcast interview in my head. And now we're having it. And it feels like surreal, especially with all this coronavirus shit too.
I wonder if I was sending you Reiki when you were doing that. How cool would that have been?
I know. I mean, and it didn't even happen once. It happened like a few times. Like this, for some reason, I think also because I was just trying so hard to just like intake and remember everything that I was experiencing because I wanted to share it with you and through this podcast, share it with everyone else so badly that I was like, okay, I have to remember this. I have to remember. And inevitably it just turned into these like conversations, like imaginary conversations I would have in my head with you or like with various people. So,
were you allowed to write anything down?
No.
Wow, you weren't even allowed to journal.
No, they like literally, so you can't talk, no books, you can't read, you can't write, you can't exercise, like no running, no yoga. And there's a whole reason for all of this too, but when you're not meditating, and we were meditating 11 hours a day, when you're not meditating, you are either eating, which we only had 2 meals a day, like one at 6 a.m. and one at 11 a.m. And then we had a fruit and tea break at 5 o'clock, which was considered dinner, I guess, but it's more like a snack. You're either eating or you're walking. So your routine gets very, very specific when you're at these retreats. Like we woke up every day at 4 a.m. and we had to start meditating at 4:30. We were meditating from 4:30 to 6:30, and then it's breakfast time. So, and then we resume meditation at 8 to 11, and then it's lunchtime. And then we had a rest, and then we resume meditation at 1 to 5. And then it's
1 to 5.
Yeah. And when I say 1 to 5, what I mean is 1 to 2 is like an hour-long meditation. Then, you could kind of take a 5-minute break. 2 to 3 is what they call adhitana, which is a sit of strong determination where you can't move at all.
Oh, you don't even move. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then you take a 5-minute break, and then you come back, and from 3:15-ish till about, it was like 2:30 to 3:30. And then at 3:45, you come back and then you receive more like instruction, and then you meditate till 5.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you have your break. And then at 6 o'clock, you have another adhitana, another sit of strong determination from 6 to 7. Then there was a nightly discourse, which is like a lecture by the main teacher. And then from 8 to 9 or 8:15-ish till 9, you do your final sit together, and then you go off and go to bed and take rest. So that was the day. Like this like, and honestly, when I look back at it, the rigorousness of it, the discipline of it, and I'll go through all of that too, it really is a major part of this whole Vipassana kind of experience, because you really do need it in order to really even get anywhere at the end of 10 days, which is a pretty short amount of time to really like repattern pathways and, like regroove your mind.
Wow. So, okay, why don't we back up for a second? Because I think it would be really interesting to tell everyone what what made you interested in doing a retreat like this, and how did you find this particular retreat?
Yeah, this actually goes all the way back to 3 years ago when we were both still at Red and in the midst of our crazy, kind of stressful, lives in advertising. And I had been listening to a podcast. I can't even remember which one, but the person being interviewed is this guy named, his pen name is Young Pueblo, which many of you probably
I
have heard
know, I
of or
love Young
follow.
Pueblo.
He's awesome. And I believe his real name is Diego, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the first time I had ever heard of him. And it's not, like there was no reason for me to be captivated by this particular podcast, but for some reason I just was. And I have to just attribute that to something divine. But he was telling his story about how he was in college in his young 20s and partying, doing drugs, just like living life as a college student, like a typical college student that we probably, most of us have had that kind of experience. And he said one day a friend of his came to him, and he had just gotten back from this 10-day Vipassana course, silent meditation retreat. And he had completely changed. He had stopped drinking. He became really focused. And he just saw this like crazy change in his friend and was just super intrigued. Like, what the hell could have possibly, caused this like transformation? And so he had never meditated a day in his life. And he ended up signing up for one of these 10-day Vipassana courses and did it. Came back and same thing, completely transformed, stopped drinking, stopped, doing drugs, still hung out with his friends and socialized and everything and partied with them, but just without all those, intoxicants or whatever. And then that's really when he, I think, discovered his desire to write and started writing. And fast forward till today, like he just has grown this incredibly fast career in writing these amazing nuggets of wisdom, put out a book called, I think, Inward that I have that's just packed with all this, like, just amazing poetry, like wisdom poetry pieces. And so I heard the story on this podcast, and I don't know, I guess maybe where I was in the agency or again, I think it was something divine, but I felt really intrigued that I had to do this. And this was like 2016 or 2017.
I feel like that just goes to show how much more evolved you were when we were working at Red than I was. Because I had barely just even started an inkling of considering being willing to try to meditate for 10 minutes to sleep better by the time we left, and you had already discovered all of these amazing things. Like, I can only imagine how much deeper your journey is going to go.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think, at the time, if I'm honest with you, I think I had tried Headspace as an app. And then I think at that time I was using Calm, which was the one app that I really connected to because of their like wonderful nature sounds and stuff. And it was a beautiful app. And then I had started going to Unplug here in Santa Monica to do, just like an hour sit here and there, maybe once a week at most. So I was starting to dabble in actual group meditations and literally making the effort to go out to meditate with others, aside from the app. And the app, it was like very like hit or miss, one day or 1 week I'd be really like diligent about it. And then the next week I would fall off, And so, and a lot of it I think was just, I was in survival mode just like you were. And I didn't really understand truly like what meditation was, except I just knew that it would help somehow with my stress, or I hoped that would help somehow with my stress. So I think the divine calling to do this Vipassana retreat was something that, like it hit me, like it intrigued me back then. I didn't really understand why it did. I just put a pin in it and was like, I should look this up, and it's not until, now, like 3 years later, that I actually received it was like the right time for me to actually go to one and experience it fully. But it had been something that I had been tracking for like literally 3 years. And I came to realize, like, I went on to Dhamma.org, which is the Vipassana retreat site that has all the different locations listed and all the different courses that are offered. And that shit fills up quick. You know, they release new courses at 7 a.m. every day that they release it. And so you have to be on it, like on it to actually sign up. Because every time I tried to sign up in the past, and because the retreat center here in Southern California is in 29 Palms in the desert, I was not about to do that shit in like May to September, you know, like I wanted to do it when it was like the weather was good. It was not too hot, you know.
My gosh. And it rained most of the time you were there.
Yeah, which actually turned out beautiful because I could see the mountains in the background, and from the trail that we had to walk every single day, it suddenly became snow-capped and just glorious and beautiful. And yeah, it was actually a blessing, even though the rain itself was, you know, kind of harrowing and depressing. But but yeah, it like the what it produced, like the snow and everything, and the beautiful scenery was really awesome. But yeah, so that's really what got me to sign up. So I like put a reminder on my calendar for this March time, March 4th, not even consciously remembering that it was my wedding anniversary. Like I was just like, yeah, isn't that crazy? That's another thing that I started thinking about when I was there. I was like, oh my God, this is the beginning of my wedding anniversary, or this is, you know, our third wedding anniversary. And, you know, this particular Vipassana retreat experience is probably the best 10 days I've ever spent in my life, and the most just not the most fun for sure, like definitely some of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it was so life-changing. And the only other thing I would hold up to that is the family constellation workshop that I did last year, which was on my birthday. So what are the chances that these two things fell on the two major milestones of my life?
Wow.
You know? And so, you know, that the day I put it in my calendar, you know, to like sign up for this course, I like woke up that morning at 6 a.m., waited by my computer until it turned 7, and then just refreshed the hell out of my like browser to make sure that I got a chance to sign up. And I got in, thankfully. And so that's why I was able to go.
Oh my gosh. So two things that I remember when you first told me about this and that you were going to sign up.
Mm-hmm.
I had just coincidentally that very first day that we talked about it, listened to a 10% Happier podcast. And I forget who the interview was with, but the whole interview was about this gentleman's first Vipassana retreat. And his story scared the shit out of me.
Like, yeah, it probably should. I mean,
yeah, he was one of those people too. Like young Pueblo, he had never meditated a day in his life. He just was curious about it. He went, he stuck it out, but he had one of these like deep, dark experiences where like all this repressed childhood trauma came out, and he remembered abuse that he didn't even know he had, and that he had spent, almost every waking second in the years after really working through that. And he said the same thing you have said, which I've actually heard a lot about these retreats, which is they're the most life-changing experiences and no one would take it back. And the course of his whole life shifted after that. But it was such an intense story. And then the day that you told me that you were able to actually sign up and you were giving me the dates, I had listened to a second podcast that was about this other woman's retreat. And she was talking about how sick it made her. Like it got to a place in her mind where like she everything around her was fluid, and she couldn't eat, and she was nauseous, and she couldn't like catch her balance, and she couldn't sleep. And she was like, by the end, I was losing my mind. And they just kept telling me to breathe through it and meditate through it. And she's like, the more you meditate, the more intense it gets. Like, oh, yeah. And I was like, Ellen is so brave. I can never do this.
You absolutely could. You have the strength to do it. I swear to God, everybody does, and they're not joking. You go to some of the darkest places like the first 5 days, and this is, you get down to the point where you're like counting hours, like,
Oh God.
oh my God, okay, four more days left, 3 more days left, okay, 2 more days, I can do this, I can do this, and like that's where you go. And the first 5 days, the anger that came up inside me, holy shit,
Wow.
I did not know still existed. I thought I worked through so much of that stuff. Quite frankly, like, cause I've been doing some pretty deep inner
Yeah.
work the past 2 years, right? Oh my God, so many things, like anger, like really, like when you we all do this, I'm sure, like you play out these scenarios in your head,
Yeah.
off of a memory that you have, and like you kind of wish that you could tell that person off in the way that you want to, and be given that chance again, like all those kind of things. I'd be in the middle of my meditation and be in like this, in this bondage of this like insane memory where I catch myself when I come back into my conscious mind. I catch myself and I'm like super pissed and just like, so angry and like, hurling words, imaginary words at this person. And then I would stop and like try to get back into my meditation. And that would just keep on happening over and over and over again for the first
Whoa.
5 days.
Did you
Yeah.
feel like you were able to work through any of that by the end of the 5 days?
Yeah, I did, because I'll explain how Vipassana even works,
Yeah, let's start
and
there.
and then I'll like take you through what my personal experience was, because yes, I definitely came through out of it. And it's not that, like in one particular scenario, like one particular memory, like I was able to work through it, and then other things would pop up, and that's the whole point of this meditation, is literally just sitting and observing everything that comes up. But Vipassana is really based off of this belief. It's like 3 parts. It's like you need this moral conduct or this moral code that's called Shila, Sila. And the moral code, that we had 5 precepts that we basically had to adhere to. One of them was you can't kill any being. So therefore, like we ate vegan/vegetarian meals, and if you saw an insect or whatever, it's so funny. There was like these little plastic containers that they were called, that they had a little tape on top of it, and it was written insect removal receptacle or something like that. And they're basically just these little Tupperware containers,
Oh my God.
that if you encounter a little critter inside your room or whatnot, then, you use this container to remove them and place them outside. So we had to abide by these 5 precepts, like no killing, we can't steal. So our rooms didn't lock. They didn't lock from the outside. They locked from the inside, but they didn't lock from the outside. You couldn't have any sex, no sexual activity while you're there. You can't lie, because, and that's why we kept noble speech, or noble silence, sorry, because, when you don't know yourself authentically and you're sort of like basically lying to yourself about whether you are in pain or not, or, avoiding your issues, those essentially are lies. You don't even know really what a lie is, whatever comes out of your mouth. So that's why you keep noble silence during this entire time, because that's part of the precepts. It's like, you abstain from lying, or you abstain from like wrong speech. And then the final one is you abstain from all the intoxicants, or, so no drinking, obviously, no cigarettes, no smoking, all that stuff. And so these 5 precepts that create Sila, or the moral code, if you have that as your foundation, then you can study and practice samadhi, which is the focusing of the mind. So the first 3 days weren't even Vipassana. The first 3 days were actually this other breathing technique called Anapana, where all you're doing for 3 days, like 11 hours a day, is focusing on this teeny tiny little triangle area that's made between your nostrils and the area above your upper lip. And all you're doing is just observing your breath. And you're not trying to breathe differently. Like if you're breathing hard, you're breathing hard. If you're breathing fast, you're breathing fast. If you're breathing shallow, you're breathing shallow. Deep, deep, it doesn't matter. Like all you're doing, you're not changing your breath at all. You're just observing it. and you're feeling how the air goes through your nostrils, in and out. Does it go through your left, your right, both of them? And then how does it feel when it comes out? What are you feeling? What's the sensation in that little area above your upper lip? And you're just super hyper focused on that tiny little triangle area. That's called Anapana. And that's how they teach you samadhi, the focusing of the mind. But you can only achieve real samadhi if you are able to do it with this moral code in place. And so by doing that, right, by doing this, like focusing your mind and having these moral code, you are able to achieve panya, which is wisdom. And not just any old wisdom, it's the wisdom of experience. And so what Vipassana actually is in essence a body scan meditation. But you and I have probably done body scan meditations through all the different meditation apps we've used. Never before have I ever done a body scan like this, which makes me realize I've completely missed the boat on every body scan meditation before.
Really? What is it like?
So this body scan meditation is like, and you start doing this day 4. Once you've actually achieved samadhi and like this, and you're able to focus your mind. The reason why they want you to focus on that teeny tiny little triangle area is because the smaller the area you focus on, the sharper and more focused your mind becomes. So if you're asked to focus on a great large area, you can't really focus your mind, but they really like zone in on that tiny little area. So you really develop sensitivity to sensations on your body because you're feeling the sensation of the air coming in and out. You're noticing how it feels. Does it feel dry? Does it feel wet? Does it feel cold? Does it feel hot? All these different things. So that when you do start Vipassana, which is a full body scan, then you're able to start feeling all these subtle sensations in your body, starting from the top of your head, going down your face to your throat, down your chest and your abdomen, down your legs, and then back up again, up your legs, to your butt, to your lower back, upper back, your neck, and then to the back of your head. And then through your arms as well. So you're just like scanning your whole body, literally trying to feel these super, super subtle sensations throughout your entire body. And the reason being is sensation, like your body's your unconscious mind, right? Mm-hmm. Like we know that we store all sorts of like, old traumas, everything, emotions, everything is stored in our unconscious mind, which is our body. And so by feeling into these like teeny tiny subtle sensations, what you're in essence doing is training your mind to actually like become sensitive to your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind becomes insensitive or becomes sensitive to your unconscious mind. Right. And so you're feeling this, like, I remember you telling me once that, when you're doing Reiki, sometimes you feel like the waves on your face. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you feel. It's like these so subtle, like sometimes when I'm doing it in the morning, like at 4 a.m., I feel like I'm not fully awake yet. And so as I'm feeling the sensations on my face, they're really, really light. Like I barely can feel it. Sometimes I have to really focus super hard just to feel something. And like the thing is, like everybody can do this. You get to a point of sensitivity where you can say, okay, middle of my right arm, right lower arm. Like you pick a spot and you feel sensation there. You pick another spot, you feel sensations there.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's really cool. And so by working with the subconscious mind, which is your body, and you're doing the scanning through your body, you're able to make that connection. And the most important part of this is that you're noticing how your body is constantly changing, because you're noticing how all these sensations are constantly changing. So as we're doing these body scans, he kept on saying the word adhering, which means change. Like, so it's constantly, you're focused on this idea that everything changes all the time, including you. Nothing is permanent, including you. Like there's nothing on you that will be lasting. Every single day that you live is one day closer to the end of your life. And you start realizing like, oh my gosh, I'm literally constantly changing. Like the two people sitting here having this podcast, you and I, are different people right now than when we first started this podcast. Because And this is where it gets scientific. It's like we're made of light particles, right? Like these
Mm-hmm.
subatomic light particles of energy. And just like a candle, like when you see that flicker in the candle, it's literally energy being given off. It's like lighting up and then dying out, lighting up and then dying out, lighting up and then dying out. And so it causes this sort of flicker reaction, but you don't see the change because, it's happening at such a rapid rate. And we're the same way. Like we have particles that are coming up and dying out, coming up and dying out,
Mm-hmm.
lighting up and dying out, right? So when you're feeling these sensations, what you're actually feeling are these subatomic like light particles that make up your body, like you know? And so by recognizing that and realizing that change is happening all the time, there's nothing to hold on to. Like you can't hold on to anything because everything is constantly changing. So your conscious mind starts recognizing that as like a law of nature, like a universal law.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's super cool. It's like so freaking scientific. It blows my mind because this is the meditation that Gautama the Buddha did when he reached enlightenment. It was Vipassana specifically, which I had no idea. This is the meditation of enlightenment. And any somatic based meditation technique will help you actually eradicate the impurities of the mind. That's the whole purpose of Vipassana, is just the eradication of the defilements of your mind, and the purification of the mind. And so when you're doing these, like this whole body scan and you're feeling into these sensations, inevitably you hit a point, especially sitting there for an hour not moving, where tightness occurs, or your back starts spasming, or your leg starts seizing up. And like all of this pain starts coming through. And it's all physical pain. But in addition to that, you start having these old memories, these angry memories, all these things start coming through. And every time you think into one of those memories and you feel it again, you relive it again, you feel that anger, right? Well, all of these feelings, anger, fear, jealousy, frustration, hatred, all of these feelings cause a biochemical reaction in our body.
Mm-hmm.
So you tense up, right?
Yeah.
Or you feel burning, or you feel heat, or you feel something. And so by simply observing your body and how it changes, like all these subtle sensations, when you hit a point where you're feeling actual pain, like I've had sits where my leg is just shaking uncontrollably and I feel like I'm disturbing the people around me. Like it's so unhelpable, but I'm just sitting through it, maintaining an equanimous or equanimous mind, maintaining my chill, letting my leg shake the fuck out of itself and just observing it. Because you don't want to stop the pain. You simply want to observe it. By observing it and just allowing it to be, like observing reality as it is. That's really what Vipassana directly translates to. Seeing things as they are, seeing reality as it is, not trying to change it, not trying to do anything, not trying to stop it. You're simply observing it. By doing that, the next time you get pissed off, your body starts realizing like, oh, okay, this is not as big a deal as before, and it doesn't react as violently. And so your reactions become smaller and smaller and smaller.
So when you're sitting and doing this meditation and all of these feelings of anger are coming up, did you find it to be really distracting from your body scan, or were you just taken out of your body scan completely and then you would just come back to and remember to like reset?
So that was one of my big questions to the teacher. We had assistant teachers, one for the women and one for the men. And the whole class is being taught by this man named Goenga Ji. He's the one who started this whole Vipassana thing. And it's being told in videotape. Like, so we're listening to his audio and we're watching his discourses on videotape because he's passed away. He like died in 2013. And so this is the whole, so you ask your assistant teachers whenever you experience something like what is actually happening. So I went to my teacher one day and I was like, I keep on having these thoughts. I can't escape my thoughts. Like, should I observe them or should I like ignore them? Like, what should I do? And she's like, no, don't push them away because that's just going to cause more agitation in you. Let them come up because the whole point of this meditation is just to observe the changes in your body, observe all the sensations in your body. So if thoughts come up and they carry an angry vibe with them, or they cause anger in you or fear or whatever the feeling is, let it come, because that's basically giving you an opportunity to create change. So as you're experiencing this angry memory and your body is feeling the anger, it causes your body to have this sensation, this reaction. And so you use that reaction to simply observe it, don't change it, don't think anything, just stay equanimous, like everything's changing, you're going to be fine. And you just let it play out, and inevitably it like kind of either dies down or it transmutes or changes into other things. But that is the practice. It's literally allowing these things to come up and just simply observing it without any sort of reaction.
That sounds a lot easier said than done.
It is like, I mean, that's why, people who think meditation is this like peaceful, blissful kind of practice, it's not. It's painful as fuck. Like
did they even give you anything to lean back on when you were doing your power meditations where you couldn't move?
Some people, and this was actually kind of a funny realization to me. Like, I brought my little meditation cushion, which is very similar to the one I bought you. Mm-hmm. Basically, each of us were assigned a little spot inside the meditation hall, and we were given like a little foam square that they put a little bed sheet over. And so there's like all these little foam squares everywhere, right? And they put one sort of like sandbag cushion on top of it. So by the end, on day 10, I was looking around the meditation hall, and there's certain people who were sitting in chairs by that point. There's certain people who had brought their own sort of like backed, meditation chairs. Some people, and then everybody else, like every single little station had so much padding. It was like, because there was a closet with like more cushions and whatever blankets that you wanted to grab, like whatever would make you comfortable. I mean, people got creative, like the shit that they put in on their square or on top of their cushion or whatever they were sitting on. I mean, it was almost like, how much cushioning can you put in the, I mean, this is honestly, to me, why I was laughing was it showed me just how afraid of pain we actually are, because the thing is, you want to feel the pain in this meditation, because the pain is actually an opportunity to change and rewire your pathways. If you don't experience the pain, it's not that you don't do work, because the pleasant sensations of the body scan, when you're free flowing and you're not hitting any, snags or tightness or anything, and you're just flowing, it actually feels really, really good. But here's the thing. The 3 reasons why we are all miserable in our lives are there's only 3 reasons. It's either caused by craving, which is wanting something that we can't have. It's aversion, like when somebody pisses us off or hurts us, and it causes hatred, anger, fear, all these things. Or ignorance, which is really about not knowing what the real root of the problem is, like ignorance. Those are the 3 causes of all unhappiness, all misery, all impurity of the mind. And so when you're doing this body scan, the way to actually work on removing aversion from your life and from your mind is by actually experiencing the pain, experiencing your leg throbbing like crazy, experiencing your back going nuts, and like having to sit and observe that feeling and being okay with it. You know what I mean? If you don't feel that, then, and all you're doing is feeling pleasant sensations, you can't get attached to that either, because that just creates more craving, more attachment to these pleasant sensations. So you need to also remain objective when you're observing the pleasant sensations as well. You have to remain equanimous and objective through all of it, pain or pleasure. It doesn't even matter, And so by doing that, by observing these feelings with no reaction, no craving, no aversion, that's how you're working through the cravings and aversions of your life.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So how many people were in the room with you when you were meditating?
There was probably, I would say 40 or 50 women and 40 or 50 men. Yeah.
Whoa,
there was a lot.
These are big retreats. I'm thinking like 20 people.
Oh, no. I think they can get up to 60 people per gender. 60 men, 60 women. I think that they can accommodate 120 total.
Wow. Did anybody walk out in the middle?
You know, because we couldn't talk, like you got really good at just observing who was around you and sort of knowing where people were staying and what residences they are. There was one woman that the only reason why I noticed her was because when I drove in that day, she and I were both looking for parking spots because there were none left. And I noticed her. She was this Asian woman. And then I noticed that she was, situated on the backside of my same like small building. And right around day 7, I didn't see her anymore.
Mm.
So they don't announce when people leave, and it's strongly, strongly encouraged that you have to stay through day 10. Otherwise, you could actually do damage, like
Not reintegrate appropriately.
yeah. So they really strongly encourage, like for those people who are like, there's no way in hell I can do this, just go ahead and gracefully bow out now, but if you decide you want to try it, you should really seriously put yourself through it.
Okay. So there's 100 people in this room and you're not allowed to talk, but you're having these super intense internal experiences. Like, could you feel that energy in the room when people were having those experiences or when you were having one? Or did people have like meltdowns in the middle of this room? I can't even imagine what that would have been like.
I know. I mean, honestly, when you looked around, like there was sneezing and coughing and the typical sort of, like you could hear shuffling happening or people adjusting and, walking in and out and stuff like that. And, that's part of like, you're given 10 qualities of that you need to build in yourself in order to achieve enlightenment, and tolerance is one of them, And so the distractions in the room are part of the practice too, because you're building up tolerance for other people and the pain that they're going through. But in terms of energy and feeling energy, the whole practice is about maintaining equanimity through dealing with all this pain, right? So everybody is focused on keeping the mind as calm and peaceful and equanimous as possible while you're enduring whatever suffering you're enduring at the time, whether it be mental or physical, and probably both. So you don't really feel the energy, There was one day, I love this woman. Her name is Shriti. I met her before we took Noble Silence. We were sitting at a table eating together. She was 5.5 months pregnant, came in from Arizona. And she had done it in Nepal when she was 15. So this was her second go around. And, she was telling us about her experience then. And I was commenting like, wow, this is so rad that you did it so early and so young and then are now doing it again now that you're 5.5 months pregnant. Because I can imagine that learning this technique of how to eradicate pain and fear in your life would probably help greatly in your pregnancy, And she's like, that's exactly why I'm doing it, And she ended up having a pretty difficult time through the whole course and experienced a ton of anger for various reasons, and probably a lot having to do with her pregnancy and her condition and stuff like that, and feeling like her needs weren't being met. And there was this one day where we were all meditating during one of our like adhitana sits, and I just heard that I was like sitting right next to the door. There was nobody to my right. I was like right next to the door. And the door flings open and I just hear this like coat, like this, like shuffle, like and angry footsteps, kind of coming in. And I made a note to myself. I'm like, I wonder who this is, and then this little, like shuffling coat just like sits down on a chair behind me somewhere, and I'm still focused on my meditation, so I don't really pay attention to it. And I just hear this like this deep sigh, like deep angry sighs. And I'm sure everybody around that area was just like, what the hell is going on? Who's this? What's happening with this person? And then after like maybe 2 minutes, not even, this person gets up and like angrily shuffles out of the room again, And I hear kind of like muttering under our breath. And then like, I kind of made out a little bit of crying outside. I couldn't tell. Anyway, after we broke Noble Silence, I met it with Shriti again. And, we're all talking in the dining hall. And she's like, I feel so bad. I completely disrupted the entire meditation hall during that one sit. I was like, what do you mean? And she said, that was me. That was me coming in all angry and like, and left really, really angry. And I instantly knew what she was talking about. I just started laughing. And I was like, and she felt so bad. She's like, I just couldn't get out of my head. Like I couldn't get out of this angry place I was in. And I was laughing and I was like, you should not feel bad at all. Because honestly, every single one of us was going through the same thing in our mind. You were just, going through the physicality of it, but like our heart just like went out to you because this is so hard. Like we knew exactly what you were going through. And it was just really funny. It was a really funny moment. She felt so guilty and so bad that she disrupted. But I mean, that's again, that was kind of like a blessing in disguise too. Like that's part of the practice. You see what other people go through and you have compassion for them.
Wow, that sounds really intense. Although I have to say, I'm relieved to hear that you were allowed to talk at lunch or when you were eating.
No,
You
that was
weren't?
only on the 10th day. No, that was just on the 10th day.
Oh
So they broke
no.
noble silence at 10 a.m. on day 10. No, like, dude, when we broke for meals, there's like a series of like tables in the middle of this place. And then there were individuals, like almost like counter seats that lined up against the walls facing the windows. Everybody made a beeline for those outside, counter seats facing the windows because you don't want to look at anybody. You don't want to be stuck in a because how awkward is that to be facing somebody at a table and you can't look up at them and you're just sitting there quietly eating, not talking to them. And so I would like purposely go, 5 minutes early to make sure that I got, a spot on one of the outside rim because I just didn't want to sit at a table facing anybody. It was just like so awkward. And this way, at least I could be facing the window and just like, tune out and just be left with my thoughts, But and then eating was a whole other thing too, because you only have 2 meals a day. But like, and honestly, I only eat 2 meals a day anyway in real life. But for some reason, because in your mind, you're thinking, fuck, breakfast is at 6:30 a.m. And then lunch dinner is at 11 a.m. And then I get nothing except for a banana or apple and tea at 5. How the hell am I going to make it, and not be starving? And so the first 2 days, I was stuffing my face. Like in breakfast, I was just eating all this oatmeal and like lathering on all the fats, like the peanut butter, the nuts, and like, putting like oil in there and all sorts of stuff, and just making sure I was like eating a lot of healthy fats so that I would feel
Sustained.
satiated.
Yeah. Did
Yeah,
that work?
it did, except by overdoing it. And it's funny
Oh
because
no.
he actually even said this at that day's end discourse. He's like, some of you guys are going to overeat because you're thinking, oh my God, I only have 2 meals a day. And like, I have to stuff my face, I have to like fill my entire plate. And the reality is that, you should always keep a quarter of your stomach empty. Only fill your stomach up 3/4 is kind of like the rule. But the days that I stuffed my face, like days 1 and 2, were the days where I couldn't stay up during the meditation afterwards. Like I kept on passing out. I kept on sitting there like and just about to fall over, because all of my energy was in my stomach.
Yeah, your body is just digesting food.
Right. So I learned real fast. Like by the end of day 2, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Otherwise, I'm just going to sleep through this entire retreat. So starting at the morning of day 3,
I would have probably been
I,
like, maybe that's not so bad.
oh my God. It was really, it was a lot of like trial and error. Like, okay, this is not working. Okay, let me try this, it was a lot of that. But I had a breakthrough. So I was telling you, like, I experienced a shit ton of anger days 1 through 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these old things were coming up and I was having these angry conversations in my brain. And it was actually disturbing me to the point where on day 4, during one of the meditations, like it was like probably right in the afternoon, like between 3:30 and 5, they allow you to sometimes go back to your residence, to your room to meditate if you prefer to meditate there. So on that particular day, I went back to my room. And I was so disturbed by all the anger that was coming up that I thought was gone from my system that I ended up doing a sway test. And I was like, okay, is this anger that I'm carrying for myself? Is this anger that I'm carrying for other people? Like, what's going on? And it turns out that I was carrying anger for both myself and others,
Of course, that's what the
And
sway test said.
yeah,
It was like,
totally.
oh, mixed bag. Here you go.
Totally. And so that night, that was day 4 in the afternoon, that discourse that night, he was talking a lot about cravings, aversions, and ignorance, right? And he was talking about how cravings, and giving all these, like, he was actually hilarious, Goenkaji. He's this funny, chubby little Indian man who has this like really cute accent, and he tells the funniest stories. And every single discourse, I just started really looking forward to them every single night, because
I
they were
was
just
going
like,
to ask what that was like. I was like, please don't tell me this was the PBS version of some like shoddy recording made in the back of the room 20 years ago.
I mean, the recording quality, leaves a little bit to be desired. I'll say that. I mean, he's clear as hell, but it was done in 1991. But
he was
and like
entertaining. It wasn't like,
yeah, he was such a funny guy, and like he was witty, and like I mean, he was so truthful that like when he would say these truths, you would just burst out laughing, because you're like, oh my God, that's totally me. And so he's like talking about, craving, and like giving examples about like, when you're wanting something, but you can't have it. And like, and he was talking about like how, craving is not, it's what ultimately, it's like, this whole thing is about going down to the very, very root of the problem. You could solve things at the surface level, like when you're pissed off, you can walk it off, right? You can count to 10, you can take some breathing exercises, whatever, to calm your like mind down, calm your body down. And that works, right? But it only works on the conscious level. What's actually happening deep down in your unconscious mind, your body, is that it's forming these little volcanoes that will erupt at a later date if you don't go down to the actual root of the problem and address it there and pull out the weeds of the actual problem, And so when he's talking about craving and like wanting something you don't have, like, missing, like not being denied a promotion at work, or being rejected by your partner and they break up with you, like all these different scenarios, really the root of the problem, and you come to find out the root of all of our problems, is this attachment to self, attachment to ego. The reason why you are so like desperately wanting this thing that you can't have and you become obsessed with it is because you have somehow made that thing the thing that validates your existence, the thing that validates you, the thing that validates your ego, right? And when you don't have it, you don't have that validation. When you're broken up with,
you question
get
your self-worth.
rejected.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly, right? The root of self-worth issues is your attachment to ego. And then likewise, like when somebody pisses you off, says something rude about you, says something mean about you to your face, you also are pissed because how dare they, they invalidate, or how dare they reject this amazing person that I am, like you have this built up like image of yourself as this, like most of us, like selfless, generous person who's like, like how could they possibly, look down on me? How could they possibly hurt me? How could they possibly think all these negative things about me, this amazing person? Again, you're not being validated. And again, it's a problem because you're attached to your ego. Same thing with and the craving thing too. It's like, when you're attached to things, to material items, your house, your car, like my engagement ring, like things with sentimental value, those are also attachments that, ultimately bring misery as well. And so you start realizing everything in your life, all the anger, the fear, all of those things are really just, it's your attachment to ego. And so by doing this body scan meditation, realizing that everything changes, realizing that you are changing every single second of every moment of every day, you start realizing there's nothing to attach to. Like, what am I? Like, there is no me. Like, am I my brain? Am I my hair, my clothes, my body? Like, there's no real sense of like, where does me come from? Like, it's constantly in flux, constantly changing, constantly evolving. So I can't attached to anything. There's nothing to attach to.
That sounds really, really heavy. Like, I mean, everything that you're saying makes sense in theory, I guess. But then how did you feel when you came back to reality and you were like, okay, all of these things, I understand in a different way now that I can't have relationships to these things in the way that I used to, because I just have a greater understanding of how everything is constantly changing. Yet in our existence and our daily lives, all of these things still exist.
Right. But you don't have to necessarily be attached to them.
Well, but what about like when it's stuff that you need for basic survival?
Like food, shelter,
Yeah.
water, that kind of stuff. Like, I think when it comes to like basic human life stuff, food, I mean, there's always a, how do I say it? It's like there's always like a healthy attachment and an unhealthy attachment. You need these things in order to survive. You need money to survive, right? But it's only when it becomes unhealthy, where the attachment to ego or the attachment to these possessions
Becomes excessive.
rules your world. Like it rules every decision that you make. It rules how you live. It rules how you think. It rules how you operate. He actually talked a lot about motivation, which was ironic because I had written a post about motivation like not that long before I left for this retreat, and how you could have the best intentions in the world, but if you have the wrong motivation for it, then it basically taints everything that comes out from it. Like the seed of what you plant with the wrong motivation
Yeah.
comes out wrong, And so likewise, it's just, yes, you need these things in order to survive. Like, I haven't actually gone out and talked to somebody who's homeless, but I do wonder, like people who or have heard stories of people who just give up everything in their life, right? And they just end up like living super simple, minimal lives. That's essentially giving up attachments, right? It's giving up everything that you really, need and or giving up everything that you really don't necessarily need in excess.
Wait, I
But
feel like I may be misquoting, but didn't Deepak Chopra or there was someone who was telling that story? They gave up everything and they just started wandering the world
yeah, I don't remember who.
on a spiritual quest, and it was somebody like Deepak. But yeah, I remember just being so shocked by that, because he was like, yeah, I didn't have anything, but people are generous and they give, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
how
you. That was just a tangent.
no, but exactly that. It's like what more perfect example of total surrender to the universe,
Mm-hmm.
when you just give everything up and you just trust that you'll be okay. Because these things are, I mean, in essence, like what we had to do at this retreat, everything was donation based. Like you can only donate if you have taken this course before. So they won't even take donations from companies. Like you have to have been an old student in order to donate, and you donate out of your own volition so that others can experience Vipassana training because you believe in it so much. And so part of this whole retreat and coming in and not having your devices, your books, your journals, your anything, and having to actually receive the charity of another by attending this retreat, being on their diamond. Like all the servers there are servers by volunteer. All the teachers there are not getting paid. They're just teachers that are volunteering their time. Everything is given. And that's what remains or maintains the purity of the practice. And that's part of what are the 10 qualities of enlightenment too. Is renunciation and just trusting in the kindness of others to give you what you
Well,
need and to survive.
yeah, and what an incredible way to not force people, but to put people in a position where they really have to experience a certain amount of vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly. And he was explaining too, like when they first started these Vipassana courses, when they were getting it set up, like the first students had to actually pay for food and lodging. That's how it sort of worked because they didn't have the funds in order to do this. And he made it a point to say like that was actually completely wrong. We should not have done it that way. Everything should be free because when you pay for something,
You expect
your
something in return.
ego, exactly, your ego is in there. Oh, I
It's
should
an
get better food.
exchange.
Right. It's an exchange. It's not pure anymore. Your ego becomes part of the equation. When you're just accepting the help and the charity of others, it automatically produces gratitude and humility.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's really amazing. Like I think after day 4, when he was talking about the attachment to ego, that being the root issue, I started looking at my abandonment issues that I've been working through, feeling like I didn't get enough attention from Adam, or, like through therapy, I was able to attach that to, oh, when my brother was born, my mom started paying a lot of attention to him. I was probably 3 or 4 years old at the time. And that must be, where my abandonment issues come from. Like that's where therapy took me. That's just another symptom of the deeper problem, which is my attachment to my ego, like my need for validation through the attention of others, you know? And I started realizing like, holy shit, this is something that I've had, this is probably something that I've carried on from past lives to past life. All of us carry this to some degree, unless you're this enlightened being like Jesus Christ or Buddha or whatever, like we all have some attachment to our ego that we're always trying to minimize we're trying to work through.
So,
It's part of our karmic baggage.
right. Okay. So everything that you're saying makes sense, but the critic in me is thinking like, okay, you're a 3-year-old. Like your poor little
Mm-hmm.
3-year-old self just needs love, or, it's like, but what you're saying is because that was just your perception of the event. Like maybe your mom wasn't necessarily paying less attention to you. She was just paying attention to you and your brother, that it felt like you were then not given something that your ego wanted.
Right.
Okay. So
But
it's not even like fundamental, like, oh, your needs weren't being met. Like
right.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't know what deeper, like kids who are genuinely ignored and like, and treated badly by their parents because their parents are in a miserable state and can't actually function as parents. Like I don't know what that means for the child, but it still comes from an attachment to ego. In some, if that child ends up growing up and this becomes still part of the problem, like this abandonment complex continues on and they don't work through it, it's still, it's almost like part of their life journey to have to contend with this particular issue and work through this particular issue, because this is the only way to salvation in a sense, or to this like this sense of freedom from the attachment of the ego, is by like the problems that we encounter in life are not there for no reason, obviously.
Right.
They are there because in a past life, if you want to believe in past lives, or for some whatever reason, generational trauma, anything, that has come before this particular lifetime, those are the things that we need to work out. And so those problems that we come across in our life is to help us work out those particular issues within us and to be freed, right? Very much in the same way that Vipassana, the more pain you experience when you're meditating, the more opportunity you have to work through and come out the other side. Like pain is a gift, like that's truly the gift. If you don't experience it, then you don't make as big a leap of evolution or growth.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense. It's just like sounds so intense.
It is intense. And, but also, it's like when I compare this experience to, let's say, some of the more bougie meditation retreats that are offered, where you go and you like pay for $2,000 or $3,000 for this, beautiful room in a beautiful place with nature, and like you meditate, and you come back feeling like all peaceful and love, inspired,
Like
and blah.
those are the results that don't last.
Exactly. Like you're probably not really working at the deepest level that you need to work at if you truly want to create change in your life. I'm not saying that those retreats are bad. Like I think those are really wonderful. And if you're stressed out and you want to go kind of escape and do a meditation retreat and have that experience, like that's awesome.
Yeah, any
But
experience is amazing, but it is you're right, it is a totally different experience, and the goal is different. Like
yeah.
that is more just easing tension.
Right, exactly. And I've started coming into a new understanding of things like breath work and Reiki and all these things that also relieve tension in a sense, like when you go to a Reiki practitioner and they're like, helping using this beautiful love, like life force energy to like push through your body and remove all these like blockages and, like stale energy and, and they're just moving it all through you. If you don't go back and do the work after you feel so good,
It's going to get blocked again.
yeah. I mean, you're like I think Reiki practice, it's like a dental hygienist for the soul, like you can't go another 6 months without flossing and brushing your teeth. Otherwise you're going to come back and be all like disgusting again and
Yeah.
have to like Reiki is only good if you are also doing the work.
Right.
Alongside it. It does not absolve you from doing the work. And he stressed this point so hard during this whole retreat. Only you can do the work for yourself. Nobody can handhold you through that shit. Every individual in this lifetime, every human being has to do their own work. There is no easy way through it. You have to do it if you want to grow.
Yeah.
And if you want to not be miserable, like
if you want to not be miserable.
I mean, that's why I think this 10-day retreat was so powerful, because it forces you, like that discipline. Like I could teach you Anapana, I could teach you Vipassana, I could teach you. We ended the last day with metta, loving kindness meditation.
Oh, that's one of
which
my
is like,
favorites.
yeah. And he called it's like balm. Like we just performed surgery on our mind, these 10 days. And now this is like the healing balm that like heals the wound and it helps us to heal completely, because we did such intense surgery. It was like really deep. So, I can teach you all these things, but you would not get nearly as much from me teaching it to you than you would if you were
disciplined
in this
for
place.
10 days.
Yes, exactly. And removed all distractions and were isolated. And you went through the feelings of loneliness and isolation and desperation and frustration and anger. And I mean, like you went through it, that is the only way you can change.
Wow. How do you feel like that's changed your perspective on how you live your life now, and even everything that we're doing with daughters and with your breathwork practice?
I think it's caused a major shift. Like like all you can do is think, right? You're like left to your own thoughts in your mind or whatever when you're not meditating. And even when you are meditating, you're just thinking. So it's like, yeah, you get so damn clear. I can't even tell you, like so clear and so focused on. For me, it was a lot about like what my life needs to be about, and how I operate in it, and it, like you and I have come a long way since 2 years ago, since we left our agency, and we've done a lot of work since then. But I now recognize that who I was before I started this retreat is vastly different and so much more complacent than the person that I am now. Like I'm saying this now, but I really don't want to drink again. Like I feel like I have a whole new perspective on alcohol. And it's not to say, I mean, I love my bourbon. Like I really, really love my bourbon. But I realized for myself, alcohol is a numbing agent. They used to give it to to babies to go to sleep, you know, like before, like way back
Yeah, a
in the
little
day.
wispy on the gums when they're teething.
Right, you know, and they used it as anesthesia before anesthesia was a thing, right? So it numbs the mind, it numbs the body. That is its purpose. And we drink socially because it's fun for us, right? Like, you know, and it loosens us up and it calms us down supposedly. It doesn't really calm us down. It just makes us numb. You know, if we're going to be very real about it, like it just makes us a little bit more numb. And I asked myself, like, as I was walking one day, like, why do I have to be numb when we are by nature social creatures and want to socialize and connect with others? Why is it that I need to numb myself out when I'm connecting to another person? And I realized the reason why I think we need to numb ourselves out is when there's fear there. And the fear is literally being seen for who we really are. And it goes back to my first mushroom trip of last year, where it was like, it's really scary for somebody to actually see you and for you to see yourself fully 100% authentically, you know, like no lie, this is who I am. And you observe your reality as it is. It's really fucking scary. And it's even more scary when somebody else is observing you and connecting with you. And so we drink alcohol to sort of numb out that fear a little bit, right? And it also becomes a really convenient excuse when, you know, they call it truth serum, right? Because shit just comes out whenever you're drunk. And, you know, it's things that you probably normally would not say, but they're probably things that do exist in you, you know? Or like you end up having a one night stand or like, you know, and like alcohol becomes this very convenient excuse. Oh, I was so drunk. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Or oh, I was so drunk. You know, I didn't mean to hook up with you or what, you know, but deep down inside, what is the real truth? You're probably really lonely and you wanted that human connection. You wanted that physical touch or whatever, but you're just too scared and ashamed to admit it to yourself or to another human being. Right. And so I realized, like, I just spent 10 days growing more and more and more and more sensitive to all these teeny tiny subtle sensations in my body. Why the hell do I want to numb myself out again? You know?
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, I don't want to make it a blanket, you know, like never again kind of statement, but I think for now and for the near future, I don't want to drink. Like I want to see how really like facing my feelings, facing my subconscious mind or unconscious mind, I mean, like facing all the physical sensations in my body and all the truth that's coming through. I want to see where that takes me and just see where that goes. And there's like this morning, I think it was like day 4 or 5, this morning when I woke up and we had meditated and went to breakfast and I was doing my morning walk and the sun was just coming up. And like, it was the day where it was the full moon. And so on one side near the mountains that were all snow capped, this ginormous moon was starting to set over the horizon. And on the other side of me, it was like the sun, this like beautiful blazing orange orb was like kind of coming up and they're both hanging at the same level, at the same point in the sky. And it was like the closing of another day and the start of a new day. And like, I don't know what it was about that. It was beautiful outside. And I think just seeing the spectacle of this amazing place, like this amazing earth and the nature around me, and like listening to these birds and just feeling the morning cold air and everything, I just burst out crying with just gratitude for like just being alive, you know? And like it's still making me emotional because I realized how much time I had wasted in my life just feeling all these things or like being caught up in my anger or being miserable. And like at that moment, I was so convicted. Like, I don't want to waste any more time. Like, I don't want to stop and just, I don't know, just not do what this whole life purpose is about. Like, I don't want to, I just like want to be so focused now. Like, I want to just, you know, do the things I need to do in this lifetime and get as far as I can. So, and set myself up for the next lifetime so that I can continue on this work. And it was just this, like, I don't know, clear moment of just like, what the fuck, you know, even something as so trivial as like me taking comfort in watching like Gilmore Girls over and over and over again at home, like that shit gets into your brain. And for like the first 2 days, I was like hearing snippets from dialogue that was just like stuck in my brain that was coming through. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't watch this anymore, like it's stuff like that that I took for granted or that I didn't take seriously enough. And it just made me like realize nothing should be taken for granted. Everything I choose to spend my time on, everything I think, everything I feel, like I can't just throw it away. Like it all has meaning, and I need to be even more vigilant and committed to facing it.
Wow. My God, you had me crying there for a minute. Wow. Has Adam noticed the change since you got home?
Yeah, I think he has, because it's like before I left, and this is something that we've been working on with like our own couples therapist, like I get really like kind of irritated when he interrupts me when I'm working, like, or when I'm like sitting with my computer or I'm intently looking at something. I mean, it would bother the shit out of me. And now it doesn't. It just, it's like there's just such a shift
It's just
there.
like it
And
doesn't
I
matter.
It doesn't
It's not with
matter.
your
Like none of the
energy.
shit, right, and like and just even my perspective on, again, I told you about the abandonment wounds and all these things. Like I view my partnership with him so differently now, like, and it's not that there's this massive change that happened, but I just feel like I have so much more compassion for him.
Mm.
Like I'm aware of the compassion I have for him, and I'm aware of all the challenges that he faces in his life. And I feel better equipped now to actually walk with him and face those challenges together.
Wow.
Not that I have to, like it's not up to me to fix his life for him or to like, carry him through these challenges. That's
But you can
his
be
to
there with
face.
him.
Yeah, and I have a better perspective of like why he's going through certain things, like at a much deeper unconscious level, like what is actually happening right now, and what are some steps that he can take in order to come out of it and come through it, like just there's just a deeper sense of wisdom and a deeper level of insight that I feel like I have come out of this retreat with.
Wow. I feel like if I was living with you and you had come home saying all this stuff, I would have been like, wow, I'm okay. I need to sign up. Did he have that reaction? Was he like super curious about it now?
I think he's silently curious. I think, me explaining to him all the anger I felt and the inner dialogue and fights I was having and stuff, it definitely, he related to that really deeply. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely like, maybe the wheels are spinning a little bit, like, maybe there's something to this. And one of his cousins actually he knows a guy who's done this twice. And so I had talked to his cousin before I left, and he's like, wow, I'm really impressed that you're doing this. It sounds really difficult. And, like, let me know how it goes. And so that kind of validated this experience for Adam already. But then seeing the changes that I have kind of maybe exhibited since coming back, I think the wheels are spinning. I just don't know if he has the courage yet to bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah, well, that's understandable.
Yeah.
How are you integrating this back into your regular life?
So I want to keep the Vipassana practice going. And so I have literally like, I set my alarm for 5:30 in the morning. I haven't even needed to use it. Like I wake up at 5:15 or 4:45 today.
Oh my God.
And I know it's weird. Cause yeah, this is beyond, I already like, I'm slowly turning into a morning person, but this is extreme. So I've been doing 2 sits a day, like one at 5:30 in the morning and then once again at like 6 to 7. And then he also told us, like, before we go to bed, like when we're laying there for about 5 minutes, just do a quick body scan and just focus on this, everything is changing, everything is changing, everything is changing. And just let that sort of marinate in your head as you're doing this body scan and feeling good and settled in bed, and pass out like that, because your subconscious mind will take over and that will become, work while you're sleeping. And by meditating twice a day and doing these kinds of sits, the reality is that you don't need as much sleep anymore, because that basically is kind of your sleep, so I'm sleeping less. Like I'm sleeping maybe 6 hours, 5 hours, 5 or 6 hours a day, versus like the 7 or 8 that I used to get.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't feel sleep deprived. Like I'm drowsy when like 10 p.m. rolls around, but I'm not like, and I like pass out on the couch sometimes, but I'll wake up within an hour. I'll move to the bed and, I just kind of go to bed that way. But yeah, it's been really interesting. Like, I mean, I know I'm only 2 days out of it, so talk to me in like a month or two and see what happens. But yeah, I want to keep this up as long as I can, because honestly too, time becomes really abundant when you wake up that early and you feel, I mean, like yesterday I was catching up on emails, right? And I kept on looking at the clock, and it almost seemed like I had gotten so much done, and like it like moved 15 minutes or something, And I just like, I was kind of noticing like, wow, it's not even 10 yet. It's not even 11 yet. It's not, throughout the whole morning. And I was just like getting so much done in such a short amount of time, because I think I'm also much more focused now. And so work doesn't take as long either.
Wow. I'm really envious of that.
Yeah. And that's something you could train, that's something that you can totally, like anybody can develop that. But
just by getting up earlier.
I think by doing this kind of meditation, and like, it really, like, I came out of the retreat just so focused and so clear. It was like my perspective on like so many different things. It's been crystallized, like things I have been sort of ruminating about, and things that you and I have talked about before. And, it's just, everything became laser focused. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's a byproduct, I think, of the meditation. It's a byproduct of the discipline. It's like everything. It like, I can't separate out exactly the reason why, but it just is because of the whole package.
Wow, that's so cool. I feel like we definitely need to do like another little mini episode with you in, 2 months to see where you are and how it's been affecting your life since then, because these are some pretty fundamental changes. Like this is pretty remarkable. I'm so excited for you, because just like the world is your oyster.
Yeah, but I mean, that's true for all of us, right? And I think I feel it now. Like now I feel this sort of, call it a conviction for my life purpose, or conviction for my mission. I don't know. I feel so much more motivated, and like, just like, yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go. Like that's kind of how, yeah, I mean, I think this is something that I think every person from the age of 18 and older should do at least once in their life. I would never, ever go to you or Adam or any of my friends and say, oh my God, you have to do this, because this is one of those decisions that, like, you shouldn't be convinced by another person to do it. Like, you should really feel ready yourself to actually take this on, you know?
Because it's so hard.
It's pretty hard, but also at the same time, not undoable. Like it's tolerable, like you face a lot of demons. Oh, that's the other thing too. Like, people were having fucked up dreams. Like, when we could all talk again, we were all sharing. Everybody was having nightmares, like
really?
murder, bloody nightmares.
What?
Yeah.
Did they explain why that happens?
I don't know if anybody asked specifically that question, but I think it has probably something to do with a lot of the emotions that are coming up, a lot of the anger that's coming up. But yeah, it was, I couldn't remember really any of my dreams. I knew I had them every single night and I would get flashes of them when I was meditating, but I couldn't fully remember except for this one. And this is actually kind of a weird mystical experience. There was two things that happened that are a little inexplicable for me. And I have to chalk it up to my spirit guides. But on day 2, the morning of day 2, so to wake you up at 4 a.m., a person goes around, an old student, and they ring a gong outside everybody's window to wake you up. And they go around 2 or 3 times, like 4 o'clock, 4:10, 4:20, and they wake you up that way for the 4:30 meditation. And so day 1, I set my alarm at 4 o'clock. And as soon as it went off, that was exactly the point at which the gong rung outside my door. So I was like, oh, damn. Okay. I don't need to set this alarm because it's harsh as shit. Like I just want to hear the gong and I'll wake up that way. So day 2, like the night of day 1, I didn't set my alarm thinking that I can hear the gong. Day 2, I was in the middle of this like weird dream about my dad. And then with this dream, there was like this other component around suicide and somehow was related to my dad, which was super weird because my dad didn't die of a suicide. And, there's nothing related to suicide in my life, And so I was like, God, this is so strange. Even my dream, I was like, this is really weird. And then all of a sudden I heard this high-pitched celestial female voice in my head screaming, Ellen.
What?
And like, I woke up, like I opened my eyes and the voice was still ringing in my head. It was that loud, And I look at the clock, it was 4:25. I completely missed the gong. I didn't set my alarm that morning. And I really believe that this was like my spirit guides waking my ass up before meditation started. Otherwise I would have slept through the whole thing, It was like one of those things, like without a doubt, like I had no doubt in my mind that this was my spirit team, like getting me up so that I wouldn't miss out. So that was super weird. And then on day 10, when we broke noble silence, like the whole 10 days, I had noticed that there was this like petite little Vietnamese woman, a little older. She's probably in her late 50s or 60s. She was in the same building as me, but like 3 doors down. And I just felt her eyes on me, I felt like she was trying to make eye contact, which we weren't allowed to do, but I just felt her watching me or looking at me, kind of like I got the sense that she wanted to talk to me, but obviously we couldn't. And so day 10, noble silence was broken. I go back to my room after a meditation to use the bathroom before the next one started. And as I'm coming out of my door, she came out of her door as well. And this kept on happening. Like she kept on like coming out of her door at the same time I would walk past her room, which also fed into my feeling like, oh, she wants to talk to me or something, Anyway, so she comes out of her door this time and she walks right up to me and I say hi because I finally can. So I'm like, hi. And she goes, I've been wanting to talk to you, but obviously we haven't been able to. And, I saw you crying one day and I just wanted to tell you that I've experienced a lot of pain in my life too. And I just wanted to ask if I could give you a hug.
Oh my God.
And it was so sweet. And we weren't supposed to touch each other at that point yet either. But I was like, no, hell yeah. You can absolutely give me a hug. I would love a hug. And so I gave her a huge hug. And then she looked at me and she said, when my son was 17, he committed suicide.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. And I had still not made the connection at that point. My heart just like dropped and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine what that feels like for a mother to lose a son like that. And I told her, I've been grieving my dad who I lost at 15 for the past 2 years because I had just not grieved at all, like most of my adult life. And I'm just now starting to come through, so, and she just nodded and she's like, this meditation helps a lot. I meditate a lot. I just have a lot of faith and, I've experienced a lot of pain, but, I feel grateful for it, And so, we walk to the meditation hall together and we sit through the meditation and like, I'm getting settled in my little spot, and before this meditation starts and my eyes are closed and I just started smiling because I was like, wow, what an amazing woman, and like how how rad that she came up to me and shared this with me, you know? And then it hit me. And I remembered my dream from day 2. And I was like, what the fuck? You know, is there something connecting my dad and her son's spirit? Or did they connect together?
You guys?
Yeah, you know, something, right? Something was there. And so, you know, we broke for lunch. And then after lunch, when we're walking back into the meditation hall, I bumped into her again. Her name's Anne. And I told her, you know, it's weird. I had this dream on day 2 that I kind of put aside, didn't really think much about it. But now I wonder if it's connected to your son. You know, I told her about the dream. And she looked at me and she just nodded, almost kind of like knowingly, you know, and she nodded and she looked down and she's like, you know, because I have experienced this pain in my life, it's given me like special abilities. I can see people before I meet them. And I think she saw me before
the
she
retreat.
Actually, yeah. And so as soon as she saw me, she knew that she needed to somehow make contact with me. And she's like, our souls may have known each other from a past life. You know, maybe we go way back, you know, I don't know. But I felt like I needed to talk to you.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I was like, wow, this is really amazing, you know, and so grateful that, again, my dad's been so present in spirit form, like in my life, kind of just guiding me. And he popped up in my head a few times in his like little photograph way. And I spent many, like there was many points throughout the whole thing where I would just like look up at the sky or the stars or whatever and just like kind of say a prayer, like, please help me through this, because I feel like this is the hardest thing I've had to do. Like, please get me through this. It's like freaking day 1 and I'm already like, oh, how am I going to get through this, you know? But yeah, I think that he definitely came through, or my spirit team definitely came through.
Well, that was so incredible. I cannot wait to catch up with you in a couple months and talk about this more and see how you're feeling then, and how your relationship with Adam has changed and your relationship to the world is evolving. And it just sounds so powerful.
Yeah, it was really incredible. For anybody who's even like remotely inkling like of intrigue, like thinking about doing this, just, I would say, stop overthinking and just do it. You know, it's like such a life-changing experience. I can't recommend it enough, but I also can't recommend it just because I feel like it's for every individual to figure out for themselves, like whether or not they should do it, you know. But
wow.
But yeah,
so cool.
Music for Woo New is composed by Adam Miller.